Well, hello everyone. My name is McKenzie Kane with the National Sports Media Association, joined by the 2024 New Hampshire Sportswriter of the Year, Dave Haley. Mr. Haley, thank you for speaking with me today.
Yeah, no, nice to be on with you. I appreciate it.
If you wouldn't mind just starting off with a little introduction on what you're currently up to in the world of sports journalism.
I started a website 16 years ago called New Hampshire Sports Page. And it's something I started on my own, but now very much a team effort of 14 of us. NH and we've grown to be the largest high school sports website in New England in that time. So very much a team effort. So when I found out I won this award, I had some mixed feelings about it, but certainly very nice to be on with you today.
I mean, well, take me to that moment when you first saw the announcement. This is your first time winning this award at the NSMA. So, what went through your mind?
Who nominated me and how did this become? I didn't even. I mean, I honestly didn't have much of a reaction to it. I was unfamiliar with it. I had a good friend of mine, Justin McIsaac, who's won Sportscaster Year in New Hampshire, deservedly so, a few times. We're different, McKenzie. We're not a newspaper. We're not which we're proud to be, and we're kind of a new media, I guess you would say, and we began this thing on our own, and I should say I did 16 years ago, and how the industry has changed and grown in social media. That's what really fascinates me the most about, being involved with something like this is how it's evolved, how sports media has evolved.
And I'm curious with high school sports, how you saw that market, because usually all the attention goes toward, the collegiate level, the pro level.
Yeah. And kind of oversaturated with high school. I always just loved high school sports. I was an athlete myself. I rode in college, rode in high school, was an athlete. And I just it was a passion of mine. And I also just felt like the coverage could be done differently and better and modernized. And so we do statistics where we have scoring leaders, rushing leaders, passing leaders, goals leaders for girls soccer, volleyball, kills, whatever. We do podcasts, we do real analysis, and we dive pretty deep into these teams. We cover the games on video, usually about 8 to 10 a week, where we call the entire game play by play, and then our videographers will break it down into a highlight video, and then we interview the entire winning team on camera. And it's become sort of a phenomenon in the state where these kids know if they win, they're getting their celebration video as a team, whether it's 100 kids literally on a football team or 12 kids, 12 girls on a basketball team or softball team or baseball team. And those videos get between 10 and 15,000 views each game, and it's their moment, kind of their statewide moment. New Hampshire's not a huge state, 1.1 million people, but we get about 30% of the people come to the website every year. So it's become a really fun thing for the kids. It's all about the kids with high school sports, as you know.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, I'm curious, can you just take me back to that moment in your life when you kind of realized you had that aha moment that this is the career you wanted to pursue professionally?
I knew it was what I wanted to pursue. If I could make a living doing it, that was very different. Those were years apart. Those two realizations. But yeah, I went to a game in Manchester between two New Hampshire schools, city schools in Manchester, Trinity and Manchester Central. The entire place was packed. Both coaches knew each other well. The kids all knew each other well. The student sections were chanting stuff at each other, and I just said, like, this is what I want to do. I worked in IT sales and various jobs over the years out of college, and liked them, but this is something I love, and I did it for free for a very, very long time before it grew to a full-time business. And I just love high school sports. I love, this is athletically the best time in most of their lives, and certainly for the parents, it's such an enjoyable time for them as well. And I have a real connection with the coaches. And what I've always said about the kids is kids can smell a phony a mile away, and they understand that we know them, we work, we enter their stats, we talk to their coaches, we follow their games, we have a great understanding of them and their teams, and it's a pretty fun relationship over the years.
Have you had a favorite story so far? Are they too hard to pick?
We um we were featured on the television show New Hampshire Chronicle.
Mhm.
Um, and what they kind of, one of the stories that they featured was there was a game between two very small schools in front of 1,800 people at Plymouth State. It was a Division 4, which is our lowest division, championship game. And this kid, Austin Lesbrance, hit what ended up being a game-winning three-pointer with 5 seconds left, and it was so loud in there that my voice cracked like a 12-year-old in the middle of the play. I didn't even realize it until the video was produced later that night. And I was celebrating with the people and the coaches from the team that won late in the evening. And I didn't realize until then that my voice had cracked because it was so loud in there. I couldn't hear myself. So that always, I go back to what we're really proud with New Hampshire Sports Pages. We have Pinkerton Academy in New Hampshire, which has 3,300 kids. That game featured two teams that have under 150 kids each in their school, and we're very proud that we cover all those teams equally. Like there's no difference to us, and the enrollment doesn't matter.
I love hearing that because I've been to or I started off in very small middle school and then went to a public high school in Florida with actually more kids than go to my college. So
Yeah,
it, it, it's it's always a whirlwind for sure. But
yeah.
I mean, I'm curious when it comes to, starting up a new form of media or just a whole new company like that. What kind of guidance can you get? What sort of did you have a mentor that helped you through it?
No, not really. I just built relationships with coaches. That was the biggest thing. And like with coaches, they I think right away, because I began with basketball and I had played basketball for so long, that they knew I knew the game. I think talking to me, they were like, okay, this guy understands it at maybe a coaching level. And you just build relationships, when they send stats after games, I'll text back and forth with guys. Maybe a guy, a coach and we cover boys and girls basketball. But we started with boys, where maybe they've lost 3 games in a row by 4 points or less, and they're just saying to themselves, "Am I doing something wrong? Like, what is going on with us?" And you go back and forth, and that's how you build relationships at 11 o'clock at night when a coach is lamenting maybe a really tough loss or a big win, and you're going back and forth with him and that's how we built the relationship. I have Lance Legier, who's one of my partners who on the website who covers girls basketball, and he's done the same thing. So every new sport we cover, whether it's volleyball, girls soccer, baseball, we build relationship with these coaches, and we really, really, really get to know. We don't send out, the questionnaire. How
Mhm.
many returning starters do you have? What is the outlook of your season? What we talk to these people. We get on the phone. It's exhausting, but we love it. We get on the phone and we really get finite and we really get personal and learn about these teams and these kids. And that's the only way you're going to have success doing something like this, is really putting in the work and caring enough about it to want to do the work.
Are there different strategies at all when it comes to covering the different types of sports, or I mean, even whether if it's a girls' team or a boys' team?
What do you mean strategies?
Like, I guess a different approach to how you're talking to the coach, how you talk to the players, whether it's that, 90-person football team or that 12-person basketball team.
Yeah, it's a good question. No, not really. The girls are way better in the interviews. They're way better. They're,
I
the
mean,
boys
as to
tend
be
to
expected.
it really is. I have an 18-year-old daughter, so yeah, and she the girls are very like thoughtful and eloquent at times, and articulate, I should say. And the boys tend to grunt a little more, and they just want to go crazy. At the end of the video, all these kids go crazy, and then it gets shared on, like I said, on Instagram, gets all those views. So they're just waiting for that moment. The girls, no, it's I think the number one thing is you can't fake it, and we never have. We're genuinely that excited as we sound. And what I tell every new play-by-play person, don't try to sound like Jim Nance or Tony Romo or Joe Buck or anyone like that, or Doris Burke. Just be yourself, and if you're knowledgeable, be knowledgeable. That's number one, and then be passionate about it. You'll be fine. Like, don't try to sound like anybody else. I don't think that's the way media is headed. With the canned, stories and phrasing and so forth and so on. Just be yourself, but know what you're talking about. That's the most important thing. If I ever watch a high school game done by somebody else and they're mispronouncing the name of like one of the best players, I immediately I'm like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, and I think we never do that. Like we know these kids, we know these coaches, and I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier how you're kind of gauging the way that social media or how the entire sports media world is evolving when it comes to these new forms of technology and the fact that social media is booming the way it is. So, how have you sort of, is there a strategy to even approaching that?
Yeah, 100%. Bill Simmons, is a guy who's always somebody I've looked up to by what he built, where he started with a digital city website in Boston and now built it into a kind of a media empire where he's interviewed presidents of the United States and the greatest athletes in the world and so forth and so on. And, um, you know, he has a podcast every year with his daughter, who is a sophomore at Emerson College. And the reason I listen to it is because she talks about how she consumes social media and how she gets her information as a 20-year-old, how she watches sports, how she, certain things. When I talk to my daughter's friends or I talk to, my nieces and nephews, I always say, like, how do you get your information? How do and because I'm 53 and I'm on Instagram but none of the kids are on Facebook, and they're all on TikTok and they're all on Instagram. And what's next and what's evolved, and one of the reasons we've grown to be as big as we are, we have about 30,000 people a week on the website, is social media. And that's the way these kids, as you know, McKenzie, like these kids, they don't watch the news the way they used to. They don't read newspapers. They absolutely positively do not listen to the radio. So like that's what I grew up with. And so I need to learn how they get their information, and that helps us do our job and be better at it.
I am actually a college DJ here at the radio station Friday nights, ironically. So I'll be on tonight, and you're right. Nobody listens to the radio anymore, and it's so freeing sometimes to be live, knowing that there's no pressure because no one's tuning in on campus.
Yeah, that's
That's
what
just what
college
it has
radio is
been.
for. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, before I let you go, Mr. Haley, is there any piece of advice you would give out to those young, aspiring sports reporters on, how to stand out in this field, where to start if they want to get started?
Yeah, I'm gonna go old school. Read books. I've had a lot of kids come to me and say, "I want to do what you do," and I said, "Read books, like absorb books and read great authors, and um, whether it be biographies or stories of certain teams or whatnot, whatever. It doesn't even have to be sports. My favorite book ever was Fall River Dreams by Bill Reynolds, about a high school basketball team with Chris Herron on it one year, and I just loved it. And it was before the website, so maybe that's one of the things that drew me to covering high school sports. But read as much as you can, and then it's all about building relationships. If you go halfway with it, you're not going to get very far with it. But if you really dive in and get to know people and build relationships and understand what they're going through as coaches, and the players will follow, because the kids are smart. They respect the people that put the time in and know them and understand. And if you're breaking down the team and you're way off, like I said with that story about listening to somebody mispronounce a key player's name, you tune out immediately because you're like, this person doesn't have any credibility with me because they haven't done the work. So it's about doing the work and really building relationships. That's really where it begins and ends.
Well, I just appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me, and congratulations again on the award.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your time too, as well, McKenzie. I made you work for it here on the Zoom, but I really, really, truly appreciate it, and certainly humbled by the award. But I appreciate your time very much. It was really nice to speak to you.
I mean, this whole world of sports media, it's all about mitigating the technical difficulties, right?
Always, you got to be able to roll with punches, and yeah. So I wasn't even frazzled by it. It was just part of the deals. But anyway, we were able to do it, and I'm very glad that we were. So thank you again.